Pokemon Sun and Moon are on the way, and with that comes a lot of questions. Are there going to be new Mega Evolutions? I hope so, because I enjoyed the last generation's new mix of Pokemon, and I think it's an interesting feature, still quite a new feature, so I think we're still ready for some more. I've got a list here of 15 Pokemon I think deserve a Mega Evolution, and they're just my opinion. I do think instead of just regular evolutions, these Pokemon in particular deserve Mega Evolutions. I do hope to get a list of just normal evolutions up sometime. But let's count them down, and they're in roughly an order of how much I think they deserve it, depending on what their stats are, what their design is, and how long they've been unused. So let's see what we've got here. Why hasn't Golem already got a Mega Evolution? I think that would have been one of the first choices I would have gone to if I was thinking at the very start, who needs a Mega Evolution? So it's a go-to rock type back in the day. It was hard as a rock, solid as a rock. You could lean on it as your rock, get it? But now it's kind of just forgotten, because although it looks quite cool, and a lot of people remember like Brock's Geodude from the anime or Giovanni's Golem from the first generation, it's just got such bad typing and not enough stats to do much before the KO that it's pretty useless. Water and grass are just going to destroy that poor chap. So I think Mega Evolving it into like a pure rock type, as it always probably should have been, would be great. Increasing attack and defense, giving it some more HP, makes it a threat in general, and design wise, it could probably come out of that rock ball, because I think there's something under there that we need to see, unless it's just a weird naked skinny creature, which I wouldn't like to see at all. But it could also turn into sort of a rock and fire type with a kind of magma vibe. I have seen some art of that online, which is pretty cool. Ariados has a really nice design in my opinion, but unfortunately it's just got poor stats and it doesn't really have a unique typing which you can play around with, so that's why it deserves a Mega Evolution even though it's a nasty spider. Now for this thing, I think Mega Evolving it into something with a new ability would be quite cool. It's got a pretty scary body in my opinion. I don't like spiders, so maybe giving it like an ability called Scary Body, something along those lines, where it makes physical attacks less likely to hit because no one's going to want to touch it. And that means you could maybe pour some special defense into its stats, make it this strange tank, which is like a tank on good days, a sort of special defense tank on bad days, but also giving it access to Sticky Web to cause some chaos and making it that better Galvantula basically. And in terms of design, it already looks pretty intimidating in my opinion, so just emphasising the fact that it's a giant spider, get bigger, get scarier, would be a really smart move. Sandslash is like the epitome of wasted potential in my opinion. It looks like it should be a killer, and it's a very old design, obviously it's first generation Pokemon, so it hasn't got a lot going for it stat wise or move pool wise, but it does look like it's got the potential to be something which can be truly menacing. I mean, look at those eyes, cold and dead, and the spikes on its back, and the claws which are going to rip into you. You know, so I think Mega Evolving it into something bulkier, something with a hefty amount of HP and attack and possibly defense too, and giving it the ability maybe Dry Skin would be interesting to kind of eliminate that water weakness. But keeping the speed low, because it's already got terrible speed for some reason. So I think, you know, making it get bigger in the Mega Evolution would be interesting. And it really is quite deserving in my opinion, because it's one of them Pokemon most of us remember, but have never really used. Zoroark is pretty unique, and for that reason it would be strange to give it a Mega Evolution, because it already is quite recognisable and does what it does quite well. But at the same time, it's quite a gimmick Pokemon, and it could really kind of use that gimmick to its advantage in the form of a Mega Evolution. And it looks like it should Mega Evolve as well, because it's got a pretty cool design. So I think it'd be quite interesting to Mega Evolve it to have Magic Bounce, because you could make it so, you know, you send it out, it appears as another Pokemon because of illusion, and then the opponent is going to try and set up around that. So it might send out Stealth Rocks, it might send out Toxic, depending on what Pokemon's out there, but it might not suspect that there's going to be a Mega Zoroark on the field in a minute with Magic Bounce. I think stat-wise, make it a mixed sweeper to keep that unpredictability. It's a shifty Pokemon, so of course he's going to cause a little bit of havoc. So you can't guess what this Zoroark is going to be doing. And also, design-wise, it looks like its hair is tied back at the moment. So I think giving it that kind of Super Saiyan feel, unleashing the hair, is the way to go. Oh, weren't we all a bit disappointed with Pyro? It looked like it was going to be one of the 6th generation Pokemon which everyone was going to grow to love, but unfortunately it really didn't make it in the competitive scene, and that's mainly due to a bit of poor typing, terrible move pool, and some really bad stats, because its stats, it looks like a speedy Pokemon, and it's really not. And it should have physical attack in my opinion, but unfortunately it's got more special attack, and its moves don't correctly correspond to that. So I think they need to change that up, give it some new moves and make it a speedy Pokemon. Give it some physical attack as well, yeah, unless you really want to keep the special attack, which it could pull off decently I guess, but it just wouldn't look as cool. And design wise, they're already separated by gender, the two designs for Pyro, so I think keep that and make it the first Mega Evolution to look different depending on the gender of the Pokemon. It's already got a fantastic design, so keep it pretty similar, just make it more fiery, more interesting, and keep those differences which make it unique. Tropius, not Tropius, Tropius. I don't know why some people are calling him Tropius, because he's not a tropical Pokemon, he's a tropical Pokemon, alright? Anyway, he deserves a Mega Evolution because just look at him, he's got a fantastic design, and unfortunately not the amount of bulk which he needs to just pull off that usage, like his weakness against ice and fire and rock and all that kind of thing. So I'm thinking maybe give him thick fat, which depending on the design could work, which would eliminate some ice and fire weakness, and also give him a bit more sustainability. But he should also get a lot more defensive stats, a lot more HP, a lot more defense, a lot more special defense, so that he can play around with what he's already got at his disposal. And design wise, I'm really not sure, because he already looks quite the part, and you can just make him, you know, embellished, put some decorations on him. And yeah, he really is quite deserving. I think a lot of people know that Tropius has always kind of deserved it, and it's a shame really. Who doesn't remember Primate? Either from the anime or the games, it's got a really nice design. And the thing is, it looks angry and it can get angrier, so it deserves a Mega Evolution. Plus, it doesn't get much use on the competitive scene. It doesn't have the bulk or the speed to really make it stand out, and it can't really get a one-hit KO out without being knocked out first. So, on that basis, I think the ability it should go for, and it's pretty obvious just looking at him, is Iron Fist. Look at our muscles, meaty, and he can obviously hit very hard, so I don't know why he hasn't got Iron Fist at the moment. He's obviously got access to Thunder Punch, Ice Punch, Fire Punch, a lot of fighting punches obviously, and keep him pure fighting obviously. I think naturally the design is already great, but emphasize it. I mean, he's obviously from some sort of rough area, you know, he's had a rough upbringing or something, so emphasize that. Make him musclier, make him more angry, obviously hyper angry, and those chains around his ankles and wrists, just make them emphasized, maybe actually have chains hanging from them or make them spiky or something. But I really hope we see Mega Primate, because he certainly deserves it. And he should be speedy as well, I forgot to mention, he really should be speedy, because he's a fast puncher. You look at him in the anime and he's quite fast. Alright, so I'll admit it, I don't know much about Leavanny, and I probably don't think you do either, because it's not a very well loved Pokemon. It's one of them Pokemon you look at in the Pokedex and you just go over it and you forget about it. But I still think it deserves a Mega Evolution, because it has like the potential design wise to be something. It's kind of got like a praying mantis look about it, and I'll be honest, I don't know a hell of a lot about it competitively because I never see it, but I think it could still be some sort of standout weird grass physical attacker. And I'm not too sure about what to give it ability or stat wise, but design wise, like I say, go for the praying mantis look, or you could make it kind of elegant with the dress sort of look, because it's obviously quite feminine. But it does deserve it. I don't like the Pokemon, but that's how impartial I am. Explode. Yeah, I had to do that. Anyway, Exploud is a sound Pokemon. Did you get it? He's sound. Yeah, anyway. He's got a very cool design, which I think is very deserving of a Mega Evolution. And he's also got not too bad stats, but not enough to make him really competitive at the moment. So he has access to Boom Burst and a lot of special attacks like Thunderbolt and Flamethrower and that type of thing. So maybe giving him a lot more special attack, a lot more HP, and a lot more defense, maybe a little bit of special defense as well. Keeping that speed low so that he's a very bulky sweeper. And I think ability wise, maybe you could give him Scrappy so that his Boom Burst can hit ghosts as well. It'd be quite interesting to make him more of an all-round sweeper. And design-wise, there's a hell of a lot you could play around with. I really like the idea of a Mega Exploud, just because, I mean, you could have smoke coming out of his funnels, or you could have more sound-based equipment somehow attached to him. But there's definitely a lot you could play around with, and I think he's very, very deserving.
Now, I love cats, and I quite like electric Pokemon. So, is there a Pokemon for me? Luxray? Oh dear, it's a shame. It's a shame what happened to Luxray, because he's quite a decent Pokemon attack-wise, but he's not got the speed you'd expect of an electric cat. I mean, the cat's a speedy, electric, supercharged cat, what's going on? So, the problem with Luxray is his move pool is quite limited, and his stats don't live up to what he should have, really. And I think it'd be quite easy for, them to bring Luxray up. You don't have to make his design, like, too absurd or anything. He already looks really great. It would just be, like, an emphasis of what he already is. And, I always thought he was going to be electric and dark, but he's just electric. So, I'm pretty certain he could evolve into just electric and dark. And obviously, you've got to give him Strong Jaw, because he gets Thunder Fang, Crunch, some other Fang attacks, biting attacks, so... And he looks like he could take a chomp out of your face or something, so he certainly needs that. And also, just bulk up the speed, bulk up the attack, maybe give him like Speed Boost or Motor Drive or something. But Luxray is hugely deserving in my opinion, mainly because I just love his design.
So Nidoking and Nidoqueen are next. And they've been long deserving in my opinion, because they've never really had a massive place on the competitive scene, and it's a shame because most people remember them and they're quite easily recognisable, and also they just have a great design in general. So I think you could probably go two ways. You could differentiate their stats and make like Nidoking a attack based sort of Pokemon and Nidoqueen a special attack based Pokemon, but I think they're HP and defenses need filling out a little bit better, because they look bulky and they should be bulky. They need to be well rounded, because they've got a lot of moves which they can learn. They've got all kinds like Flamethrower, Thunderbolt, Ice Beam, Earthquake, Sludge Bomb, all that kind of stuff. And maybe giving it the ability Reckless or Adaptability. But I'm not too sure what to go on the ability. I just think they really deserve it, and they share a lot of the same attacks, so they could do it so that they Mega Evolve into the same sort of stats, and they just have different designs. So apparently everybody hates Klinklang, and I bloody love Klinklang, because I love the man-made Pokemon sort of stuff, like Weezing, Magnezone, all that sort of thing, and I love Steel types as well. But unfortunately, Klinklang doesn't get the stats or the move pool to pull off what it should be. And it's mainly due to a very limited move pool. So it's got some decent attack, some very decent defense, not a huge amount of speed, it could do with some more. But move pool wise, because you're going to go for a physical attacker mostly, mainly due to shift gear, you haven't really got much at your disposal. Only like Double Edge, I think, Wild Charge and Gear Grind. So it needs more moves, and it needs to Mega Evolve into something a little bit more HP, a little bit more attack, a little bit more defense too, may as well. And I think give it Speed Boost, because I've seen this really lovely design of like a steam train Klinklang, and Game Freak is that is just the way you need to go. I think they should pick up that design, and I'll put it on this video. I think they should pick up that design and take that in and just design the Pokemon exactly off that, because I bloody love it. So Gigalith looks like it could stomp your face in, and it's got okay stats, it's got an okay ability, it's got okay moves, and it's got an okay type. So it's just an okay Pokemon. But it really shouldn't be, because it's got a really great design. It was one of the only 5th generation Pokemon which a lot of people like the look of. So based on that, I think it deserves a Mega Evolution. And I think with the typing, keep it the same. With the ability, give it Analytic, because that will make it... It's such a slow Pokemon that it will hit on the second turn, and it'll do some huge damage. Increase its attack, increase its defense, increase its HP, and make it a really defensive, bulky, physical attacker. And based on its look, I really love the look of it. It's got those sort of crystalline things coming out of it. I think emphasize that, make it bigger, make it angrier, and there's so much you could play around with what it could be. It could be kind of like almost like a Metagross-ish Pokemon. And you might have guessed it, but at number 2, it's going to be Sunflora. Now, Sunflora is not Sunflora, it's Weed Flora. And that's just mainly because it's so frail and it's so useless, and it's a shame because it's got quite a unique design and it's got some okay moves in its disposal, but at the moment there's nothing you can really do to make it usable. There is a few things actually, but you know, by and large you're not going to have a good day with Sunflora. So I've seen suggestions that it could be Grass and Fire, but I think keeping it pure Grass, because Grass and Fire would be a unique combination which would be quite overpowered actually, I imagine. But I don't know exactly what you can do with it. I think maybe giving it Prankster and giving it some more defensive capabilities so that, you know, it can withstand a few things. Maybe making it really speedy, prankstery, sort of cheeky Sunflora Pokemon. That would be a good way to go, but there's so little you can do with Sunflora at the moment that it really just warrants a Mega Evolution. And I know some people who really like the Pokemon, so it's a shame they can't use it. And at number 1, it's the Gen 2 starters. Now we've already seen Generation 1 and Generation 3 starters get Mega Evolutions, and I think it's about time Generation 2 got Mega Evolutions. I think although 5, 6 and 4 have not got Mega Evolutions, 2 is most deserving, and that's mainly because they've been out of the scene for quite a while, and they also look quite plausible for Mega Evolutions just in their design. So let's go through why I think each one needs a Mega Evolution. Okay, so Typhlosion sounds like a powerful Pokemon, but is it? And the answer is almost. It's got some really great stats and a pretty wide move pool, but it doesn't do anything spectacular. And there's a lot of single fire types out there, but it doesn't do anything that another can. And although it's got like some really good moves in its arsenal, like Thunder Punch and such, it's bit of a mix between a special attacker and a physical attacker, so I think it could benefit from just going down one route or keeping the middle ground, but also emphasizing a lot more speed, and it has some decent HP as well, so it could do quite a lot with Mega Evolution. And I think design wise you could emphasize the fact that it's kind of an explosion Pokemon. Those spikes on its back should get bigger, should look angrier, and there could be more features to it in general. And now for Alligator. I've always loved the design of Feraligatr, but it's never had any spectacular stats. It's got decent stats all round, and it's quite usable really. But again, it doesn't do anything that another water type can't move, and water obviously being the most common type, it's got a lot of competitors. Its ability, Huge Power at the moment, is a big benefit for people who want to use it, but it's not anything spectacular. So I think it could do with a lot more attack, some defense, some HP, and again a little bit of special attack, special defense and speed all round. It's quite a well-rounded Pokemon, but it needs some new ability, I think, maybe something unique, maybe something we haven't seen before, because it's got some really great potential. And finally, Meganium. Meganium has, again, some quite well-rounded stats. It almost wants to be a tank. It's got some really decent defense, really decent special defense, semi-decent HP, semi-decent speed, and very mixed attack and special attack, so it can be kind of whatever it wants really. But its abilities and its move pool let it down again. I think it has the potential, and I'm leaning towards maybe even giving it Drought. It could just be pure grass, but it's got this sort of flower on its neck, so maybe emphasising that it's like some sort of sun absorber and it causes drought. I think it needs to be well-rounded again, but I think it needs to lean more towards tankiness rather than sweepiness. So I think maybe even just keep the attack and special attack as they are, at the base power they are, and just increase the defense, increase the special defense, increase the HP, and make it more well-rounded. Okay, that's it for this list. Well, I hope you enjoyed, guys. I certainly did. I had a smashing time. And if you disagreed with me on any of them, let me know. Let me know if you got any ideas for the Pokemon I did list, or let me know if you got some different ideas for other Pokemon. I mean, there's so many to play around with. Game Freak have really got a lot to mess around with and a lot to choose from. But this was just my opinion. I hope you enjoyed it, and if you did, let me know, like and subscribe, all that kind of stuff. I'd love it. And see you soon.